So hi, everyone. My name is Justin Brim. I'm an admissions counselor here with Binghamton University. Thank you for the time you're taking to sit with us in this presentation and learn more about getting started with veterans benefits and more. So I'm going to, quick housekeeping. We will have an opportunity for you to ask questions in the Q&A, and we can answer those live. It's a small group right now, so we can really make this a lot more personable. We're more than happy to do that. But yes, there will be opportunities for you if you have questions also about the admissions process or something related to applications or such. Please feel free to send them in the Q&A, not the chat, in the Q&A, and we will make sure to get those answered either live or through chat. And yes, I'm going to turn, of course, I have my coworker, my colleague, Michael Hennison, one of our transfer coordinators who is here. And then I want to turn it over to Paul. He just introduce himself real quick.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Just a quick introduction.
Yeah. My name is Paul Stroud, and I'm the Director of Military and Veteran Services at Binghamton. I've been doing this. This is my third year doing this. I've been at the university a lot longer than that, but this is my third year specifically working with our veteran population. So I'm
awesome.
Spend time talking with people.
Yeah. Thank you. So please, once again, everybody, if you have questions specifically, send them in Q&A. We'll be happy to address them live. But let's get started, and let me share my screen really quickly. So yes, learning more about kind of the process and getting started with veterans benefits at Binghamton University. So there's several topics that we're going to cover today. Everything from the application fee waiver, should you choose to, of course, apply to Binghamton. We'd love that you could or would, and maybe you have, and pre-thank you. You're going to learn about benefit programs, and we'll just have a discussion about the different accessing those programs, different special programs and scholarships, maintaining the certificate of eligibility, and of course, receiving credit if you have questions about credit for military service and payments and such. And, and of course, especially how timely, whether online or in person, does that factor into the processes that make a difference? So I want to cover really quickly, and Michael is going to send into the chat. You'll see a link to the application fee waiver page of the SUNY, an example of one of the SUNY or Binghamton application fee waivers for our veterans and those who are in military service right now. But who qualifies? And so there is a fee waiver that SUNY has for all the SUNY campuses that an applicant can qualify for a fee waiver if they are in active duty service, if they are in active reserve, National Guard, a veteran, or a spouse or dependent of one of the above. So that's very important as well, because I believe previously there was it was really based on each individual campus within SUNY, and there's 64 of them, whether they wanted or had the process where they would offer a fee waiver to those who are in active duty service, veteran, or an active reserve. But it was kind of case by case whether it also be a spouse or dependent of one of the above. But that's SUNY wide now. So that's a big deal. It's a big factor, and that's the way it should be. And then as far as if you just want to know some of the supporting documentation that may be required as far as approving that fee waiver, it can include certificate of eligibility. It can include different forms. As we highlight here, a leaves and earnings statement. It really depends on the status, your qualifying status anyway. But it also could be, of course, birth or marriage certificate or such of the like. So there, the form that will be sent in chat will show an example of everything that you would need to complete and then submit as supporting documentation in order to qualify for a fee waiver. So we encourage you to do so if you do submit an application for admission to Binghamton University. And then I'll turn it over to Paul, who's going to talk a little more about several of the other topics that we're going to mention we're going to cover today.
Okay, yeah, again, thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm always happy to talk with anybody who really wants to hear about what we do at Binghamton University. I think we do a fairly good job, and I think we are working to do a better job. I always like to spend a little bit of time talking about Binghamton's history. A lot of people don't know that Binghamton really has a very long and very good history, particularly in terms of veterans. In fact, veterans and the veterans population were really integral in Binghamton's start. Binghamton University, some people don't know this, was started back in the 50s, 40s and 50s as a satellite of Syracuse University. And one of the things that became an issue immediately after the war years was we have all these veterans and how can we service them? And so Binghamton University really began, its genesis is as a institution to try to help meet the needs of our veterans population. So our experience with veterans and our commitment to veterans goes back a long time. Since then, of course, things have changed. The veteran benefits have changed. There have been more programs added, modified. And I am not going to go through each one of these benefit programs per se, but I just wanted a listing of the benefit programs that exist for veterans. The good news in dealing with this population is most veterans know which benefit program they have. So that's one thing I don't have to spend a lot of time on. Most veterans come already knowing that they have the benefit program. The only one I'd like to spend just a little bit of time is talking about is the very last one, which is the Veterans Readiness and Employment. In a sense, that is not a VA program per se. It's really more a job readiness or an employment program. However, it's still administered through the Veterans Administration. You still deal with me. I'm called the school certifying official. So, and I still work with that population as well. But it's a little different, but I like to include it because it's different but the same in terms of the process is still the same. So again, if people aren't familiar and they need some information about which benefit program they really have, I'm certainly willing to talk with them about that and help them figure that out. But for now, I just wanted to at least mention and list these are the benefit programs that are out there that exist. So if I can have the next slide, please. If you hear nothing else, or if you remember nothing else from today, please remember the very first website that's there. Because one of the things that I spend a lot of time trying to help students figure out is, well, I have questions and how do I get information and where do I get information? And certainly I am a resource. I'm happy to help. I do all the help I can. I'm willing to talk with people. And even when they go to these sites, they still have questions. But the va.gov.education is the VA site. It has probably way more information than you care to have. Now, sometimes I understand and know that you can have too much information. And with all the information, you're trying to figure out, well, this is way more than I need. I just have a very specific question, and I don't want to spend an hour reading information just to get a simple question answered. And I understand that. So I always tell people, at least know that the site exists, but please feel free to contact me with very specific questions. And if I don't know the answer, and sometimes I may not, I certainly know where I can get the answer, and I will get the answer. But that's an important site because there's some information you may not remember or some questions you may be easily able to find the answer out there, although, again, I'm always happy to serve as a resource. The other important thing about the first site is even though the benefit has already been earned, that's not a question, you still have to apply to use the benefit, and that's very important. And the VA Gov Education is the place you have to go to apply for your benefits. Apply to use your benefits. Again, the benefit has been earned, but you have to apply to use it. And sometimes people don't quite understand that. So again, if you remember nothing else, go to VA Gov and apply to use your benefits that you've already earned. Let me see. So a couple of special programs I want to talk about. Within the VA, there are the programs I just mentioned, but even within those programs, there are some additional special programs. One is called tuition assistance. Tuition assistance can be used with both the Montgomery and the post 9/11 GI Bills. It's a special program. Again, you have to apply to use it, but what it does is gives you or potentially gets you some additional money over and above what the normal VA rates are, particularly if your expenses are more than they would normally cover. The VA has a limit on what it is they cover. They essentially will cover the average in-state tuition. In this case, we're in New York, so for a public university in New York is what they would cover. Whether you come to Binghamton, I hope you will, or someplace else, there are some schools whose tuition fees are more than that amount. The tuition assistance is a way that you can get that coverage over and above what you would normally spend paid for. The tuition top-up program is another program. Now, this is a program for people that are actually in the reserves, or V. And this program actually covers your out-of-pocket expenses. So if you had some expenses, some educational expenses that you didn't count on, you didn't know were going to come up, this is a way that you can get those covered. Again, you have to apply. So again, with the VA, lots of programs out there, but you have to apply to use them. Again, not to get the benefit, but to use the special programs, you'll have to apply, and you can do that through the VA Gov website. Kickers and yellow ribbon. Kickers, again, is for those people that are already in the service. It's another way of getting some additional funding. A kicker, however, is one that you have to make an additional commitment to the to whatever branch you're in in order to get it. But I always like to list all these special programs because there are different ways that you can get expenses covered. Again, you have to apply for this. And yellow ribbon is one that everybody knows, and I get asked a lot, well, are we a yellow ribbon school? And the answer is yes, we are yellow ribbon schools, but the reality is that yellow ribbon doesn't end up making the difference. And the explanation is, as I said before, what the VA covers is the average in-state fees for a school. And Binghamton charges no more than that, so that you aren't going to get into a situation, and there's a caveat, I'll get back to that. But for the most part, you're not going to get into a situation where what you're being charged to attend Binghamton University is more than what that average is. So in some respects, the yellow ribbon is superfluous. Now, the caveat, however, is there are a couple of certificate programs that, in fact, charge a little more. If you were to participate in one of those programs, you could find yourself in a situation where those fees are more than what the VA is going to cover. In that case, we could then apply the yellow ribbon, or potentially apply yellow ribbon, or yellow ribbon could come into the picture. But for the most part, for most students, it's there, but you don't need to use it. And I think at the end of the day, that's a good thing that you don't have to use it. If we were a private school, the situation would be a lot different, but we're not. So I think we're in good shape. Scholarships. Two scholarships I want to mention. One is the STEM scholarship, and this is a scholarship for all those that are in engineering, math, computers, anything that's considered a STEM or technical program. There is a scholarship. Again, you have to apply. VA.gov is a place you can go to apply for the STEM scholarship. It's awarded on an annual basis, so that once you get it, you don't necessarily get it again, but you certainly can apply again. But I always like to point out it's there, particularly if you're in one of the what's considered a STEM field. Again, computers, nursing, most of the technical programs are qualify for STEM. And the other one is the Fry Scholarship. Now, to qualify for Fry Scholarship, you have to have lost a parent in service. But if that happens to be you, that you're one of your parents or your parent was deceased while in service, you qualify for the Fry Scholarship. Again, it's another way of getting some additional funding for you to help you with your educational expenses. And again, it also is an application process. The good thing about the Fry Scholarship, it's considered almost automatic if you are using Chapter 35, which is the dependents educational benefit. When you apply to use that, you also get considered for Fry at the same time. So it's not a separate application process. But again, I like people to know it's out there, that it exists, because sometimes people don't know about that. Documentation. Another thing that's important is the very first document, which is called the Certificate of Eligibility, or COE. This is a document that comes from the VA. I mentioned earlier that you have to apply to use your benefit. When you submit your application, what the VA will end up sending you is a certificate of eligibility. It essentially outlines your benefits. It goes into how much benefit you have, what percentage, whether it's 80%, 90%, 100%, whatever the percentage is, how long you have to use them. It tells you everything you need to know about your benefit. This is a very important piece of paper. I tell people, once you get that, and you'll get 2 copies. Once you get it, save a copy until 4 years after you graduate and then get rid of it. But until then, I think it's an important document. Hang on to it because it really is a thing that tells you what you need to know about your benefits. One of the things I do need is I need a copy of your COE. If you come to Binghamton and you want to access, you've applied, you've gotten your benefits, now you want to use them, one of the things I need is a copy of your certificate of eligibility. So I need that. The other document is called the NOBI, or Notice of Basic Eligibility. These are for people that are typically in reserves or guard. If you are a reserve or guard member, you can qualify for this. And to get this, you have to talk to your educational representative in your unit. So whatever unit you're in, Army, Navy, Marine, doesn't matter. You have an education liaison. That is the person you have to talk to have them to give you a copy of the NOBI. I need a copy of that as well. But again, these are documents you have to get elsewhere and then bring to me. So reserve, guard, talk to your education liaison who can guide you through the process of the NOBI. The other thing it's important to do is there also some information that they have to submit to the Department of Defense, which is different from the VA, about your benefits as well. So really talking to them really gets 2 things started. One, they get you get your process started to get your NOBI, but also the information that must be submitted about you in the DOE side gets done as well. So that's in terms of the documentation. And I think I have another slide about documentation. I don't. Let me something else about documentation. We at Binghamton try to make the process really easy. I understand that by the time you get to me, you have done already a lot. You've had someone in your family has earned the benefit, or you've earned the benefit, you've applied to use the benefit, so you've been through a lot. We try to make it as easy as possible. I really only need 2 things from you. I need a copy of your COE or your NOBI, which we just talked about, and excuse me for a minute. And the other thing I need from you is called an enrollment form. Our enrollment form is an in-house document. It is on our website. We have on my office's website, we have a document and form section. You can get the NOBI right off that and fill it in. So really, that's all I need from you: copy of your NOBI or COE and a completed copy of the enrollment form is all I need. Then with those 2 pieces of information, I can do your certification. Now, the enrollment form asks you for some specific information, but again, I just want to talk about that. I mentioned that. You can, if you've served, you can get credit for your military service. There was a process for that. What I always tell people is that when you apply to Binghamton, if you want to get credit for your military service, talk to missions people, contact my office, and we can talk in more depth about what's really necessary. That is run through our transfer process. However, I'm not part of that. I don't need to be a part of that, but there is a process by which you can get some credit. Not everything is creditable. It has to be something that has a liaison. And the American Council on Education has really done a very good job of looking at what people do in the military and how that aligns with academic programs. So that's really the basis on which decisions are made. But I do want to let people know you can get some credit at Binghamton for some of the things you've learned and some of the courses you've taken while you're in the military. Payments. One of the things that I would be interested in, everybody is interested, is the payment. So except for one situation, all the payments go directly to you. The VA sends housing allotment, books, and tuition fees to the students. The sole exception is for those that are using Chapter 33 or post 9/11. Tuition and fees for Chapter 33 only goes directly to the university. The housing and the book fees go directly to you. So again, Chapter 33 is the only exception. One of the things as you are applying to use your benefits that's important to do is to make sure the VA knows where you want your payments going to. Typically, they'll set up a banking account and it'll just be automatically deposited for you, but that's really important. And one of the reasons this becomes important is sometimes there's some confusion about, well, do I pay my fees or do I not? If you are a non-Chapter 33 student, then you need to go ahead and pay your fees because the VA is sending money to you. If you're a Chapter 33 student, I tell people, look, if your tuition and fees are being covered, you don't need to pay that. The VA is going to pay that, but everything else you need to pay. And we can talk a bit more about that if we need to, but at least wanted to cover where the money goes, who gets what, and what needs to happen as a consequence of that. One of the things, and this has become particularly important this year, I suspect, or at least this semester, I suspect it will be next as well. Next semester and beyond that, who knows? There is a differential between online classes and in-person classes. The differential comes in the form of the housing benefit that you receive. If you are an online person, the housing benefit is 50% less than it is if you are an in-seat or you're actually attending courses on our campus. There is an exception. There currently is an exception. The exception is because of COVID-19, any courses that have gone online because of COVID can currently be treated as in-person classes. And that's a good thing. That legislation only lasts through December, so at this point, I don't know, and no one knows whether or not that will be in effect next semester and if it will need to be in effect beyond that. But again, if you come to Binghamton, make sure you understand that and make sure you reach out to my office. And it's important that we really are clear on this because it means more or less money in your pocket. And I always tell students, look, don't list the course. Even though you're taking the course online, if it can be treated as in-person, let's do that because it's to your benefit to do that. So I always want to stress that. So that's my only caveat. Review. So lots of times the burning question or the essential question people have is, well, how at the end of the day, how do I use benefits at Binghamton? And really it's 3 steps. And this is what I've already talked about. One of the things you have to do is you have to apply to use your benefits. Again, you've earned them, you have to apply to use them. If you're coming to Binghamton, hopefully you've already reviewed whether or not we are a school that can receive VA benefits, and we are. And you should also check to make sure that whatever program you're interested in also qualifies for VA benefits. Not every program does. I can't think right now of a program at Binghamton that doesn't, but that's something that you should always do. And then the next thing you need to do other than that is contact, again, my office if you come to Binghamton, or whichever office is the Veteran and Military Services office at the school you go to. I know when you apply, there is a box that you can indicate whether or not you're a veteran, and that information eventually comes to me, but I always tell people, let's not wait for that. I'd rather start working with people sooner rather than later. So as soon as you've made your decision to come to Binghamton, you can reach out to me. We can start a conversation. I know about you. There's a list of military affiliated students that I send to student accounts so that you get charged the right amount if you're not in state. And so there are a number of things that we can get a jump on. So again, reach out to my office if you're coming to Binghamton. I will eventually get the information, but again, I'd rather work with you sooner rather than later. And there's my contact information. And ROTC exists at Binghamton, but we really are a affiliate of Cornell Cornell's program. So really, even though it's the Binghamton program, it's part of Cornell University. So that's where our ROTC program is run out of. So that if you were to ask me or contact me about ROTC specifically, I'd refer you to Cornell. Just had a meeting actually with the Cornell folks last week. We're beginning to work out and talk a bit more about how do we more closely align ourselves with each other. And so I don't know what that's going to be, but we do work well together. We'll continue to do that, and we're looking for ways to improve that relationship. The other thing, I like to let people know in terms of things that are specific to our population. We do have allowance for our military-affiliated community members that is only for them, and you have to be able to access it. So you have to know the password or the pass key, and we provide that. We also have special parking. You get a reduced parking permit for members of the community as well, or kind of some of the special things that happen at Binghamton. Binghamton is a place that I think there's a lot of good support for members of our community. We have my office, and I tell our students, look, if there is something that touches your lives, then it's something that I certainly will help you with, whether or not it technically falls under the ages of veterans or not. I take to heart our motto, and that is, we're here to service those who served us. And that's just not words, it's really what we mean. And what my bosses have said we need to do as an institution. So we're really trying to fulfill that promise and really make it live. So with that, I am happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Awesome. And what I'll do is I'll do a stop share here.
And I can talk more too, however, about the things I can say.
And thank you, Michael, for putting in the information about the fee waiver. Some really informative information. Thank you so much, Paul. Just to piggyback really quickly on something Paul said, he mentioned ROTC. The ROTC would be for the Air Force/Space Force as well as Army.
Yep.
Yep.
Yes, thank you. Yeah,
Yep.
Thanks for that clarification.
I know, so yeah, sometimes we get questions on, do you have like Navy ROTC or something like, so yes, those programs, yes, so once again with Cornell University. Okay. Well, once again, thank you for attending. Thank you, Paul, for your insight and your information that you provided about all the services and work that you do, and the support that's here at Binghamton University, the history of how we have worked with our veterans and continue to do so. And there is more information out there, so please make sure you all reach out to us. And there's other open house sessions taking place over the next 2 days, and we will have another round of open house sessions in this virtual format in November as well. So we really do encourage you all to take part in that. So thank you again, and have a great rest of the day. Yes, as Michael put in chat, make sure to, if you have other questions, feel free to email admit, ADMIT, @binghamton.edu or transfer@binghamton.edu. And of course, we hope to see you again soon and correspond with you in the very near future. Take care, everyone.
Yeah, and thank you for the opportunity as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great rest of the day, everyone.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.